Okay, this week we have some prefixes that are a little bit more challenging. We're starting with anti, which is Greek and it means against or opposite. Contra, which in Latin means against or opposite. And ob, which is also Latin and it means against and sometimes means in the way of. So you think of the word obstacle, something that is in the way. So let's take a look at your words. Our first one, antithesis. Notice I made the I big and dark to notice that it's not anti, but the emphasis, the accent is on the short I sound, antithesis. So anti is the prefix, thesis is the root word, and it means something that is in direct opposition to something else. So you might say, even though I'm a very studious, hardworking student, my brother is the antithesis of that, and he likes to goof off in class a lot. Then we have anticlimactic, sometimes said anticlimactic. The C might be silent, depending upon who's pronouncing it, but notice it comes from the root word climax. So think of a movie or a book. The climax is that moment in the plot when the action is at its most extreme and exciting. So something that is anticlimactic is when you are expecting an exciting or dramatic ending and it just kind of fizzles out. So you could say the weatherman had been forecasting a huge snowstorm for many days, so it was anticlimactic when we got an inch of snow that melted after a few hours. Here's one you're probably familiar with, antibiotic. It's plural. We use it most often in the plural form, but antibiotic is also a usable word. Bio, the root in here, bio, means life, so it really means against life. So obviously it's, think of it as a medication, it is against very tiny life forms such as bacteria. Antisocial, you know the root social, someone who's social has a lot of friends, is really outgoing, so someone who is antisocial is shy, they might prefer to be alone or with one or two friends instead of in a large group. Then we have antipathy, so here's one word, it's not anti, but antipathy. This past root, you will later learn, has to do with feelings or emotions, so antipathy is to go against the feeling or emotion. Antagonist, notice we dropped the I from the anti here. The antagonist is the bad guy in a book or a movie. You probably have learned in language or in reading that the protagonist is the main character or the good guy. The antagonist is going against the main character. Sometimes the antagonist isn't necessarily a person, might be an animal in an animal story, but also if you think of a story where your protagonist is really struggling maybe to survive in the wilderness, in a big storm, the antagonist would actually be the environment, the storm, whatever is causing trouble for your protagonist. Then, you've probably seen this word before, anticipate. To anticipate something is to expect or look forward to it. We anticipate a large crowd showing up for the concert. So then, you know now when we put shun on the end of a word, it changes it from a verb form to a noun. So anticipation is the noun, that feeling of expecting, excitement. The children's anticipation grew each day as Christmas came closer. Now we're going to look at the contra root. Again, means against. So something that is contradictory. The dict root has to do with speech, something that is said. So contradictory is saying something against something else. She said that her favorite movie is Hunger Games, but he was contradictory and said it was a terrible movie. Again, here's our shun. Take contradictory, which is an adjective, and change it into a noun form, a contradiction, something that is said against something else. When you speak contradictions against your parents, you often trouble because it is not respectful. Then we have controversy. Notice now our A has changed to an O in contra. It still sounds like contra, but it's spelled with an O. Controversy. Verse, this root means to turn. So it means to turn against, literally, but it's something that people tend to take sides on. There's one extreme or the other and not really a middle ground. Because, let's see, many people met with the school board over the controversy of whether or not that book should be banned or allowed to be read by students. So something controversial is an adjective. It is the thing that is the focus of the controversy. It's not polite to bring up controversial topics when having dinner with others. Contrary is just going against. Sometimes little children are very contrary and they're just going to argue with you no matter what you say. And then we have the ob root from Latin. Again, it means against, but also can mean in the way of. Our first one, we're going to put two prefixes on it, un and ob. That is the word unobtrusive or not noticeable. She was very unobtrusive, always sitting in the back and not contributing to class discussion, so it surprised everyone when she got the highest score on the test. Unobtrusive, not really noticed. Obsolete is something that is no longer in use or no longer useful. The typewriter became obsolete with the invention of the computer. Obvious, you know what this one means, something that is very clear, easily seen or understood. Obstruction, what kind of speech do you think that would be? It's a noun. Struck means to build or something that is built. So an obstruction is something that is built in the way. After the storm, the fallen trees caused an obstruction to the flow of traffic. They were in the way. Obdurate, think of durable, it means hard or hardened. So obdurate is a person who is stubborn and particularly stubbornly persistent in wrongdoing. Her obdurate little brother often landed himself in the principal's office. Obdurate. Observant, you probably know this word. It's, to notice things. You have to be very observant as a bird watcher to be able to find the birds that are camouflaged in the environment. Objection. Object means to throw, like project or projectile. So objection is something verbally, usually, thrown against something else. Mom said that we were going to have pizza for dinner, but my little sister made an objection and said she wanted tacos. We have two challenge words. The first is anticipatory. Again, it's the anti instead of anti. And anticipatory is like anticipate, looking forward to something. And then lastly is contraindicated. It's a verb, past tense. And usually it has to do specifically with medical treatments. So a doctor might say that they would normally treat this infection with penicillin, but in this case it is contraindicated, shouldn't be done because the patient is allergic. So again, our words this week: ob is a prefix, contra, and anti.